Good morning, Morai Rabotai. We're continuing on Masechet Berachot, and we're on Daf Nun Het Amud Aleph 58a, 10 lines down from the white lines. And Gemara says, the line starts with Al Oreach. Says the Gemara, Ve'ha'ish bimei Shaul zaken ba ba'anashim. This that the pasuk says in Shmuel Aleph Perek Yud Zayin. The simple understanding of the pasuk is speaking about actually Shaul HaMelech, at the time of Shaul HaMelech, which is the father of David HaMelech Yishai. It says, "V'David ben Ish Efrati." David was a son of a man from Efrat, mi Bet Lechem Yehuda, from Bet Lechem, ushmo Yishai, velo shemona banim. His name was Yishai, had 8 sons. Ve'ha'ish bimei Shaul zaken ba ba'anashim, and he was a zaken, he was an elder that came ba'anashim. Says the Gemara, what does that mean exactly? Zaken ba ba'anashim. Amar Rava ve'itemar Rav Zvid. Who is this? Ve'itemar Rav Oshaya. Ze Yishai avi David. This is talking when the pasuk says ve'ha'ish zaken ba ba'anashim, is a reference to Yishai, which the pasuk started introducing him as the father of David HaMelech. He would go out and come back in. He had an entourage of uchlusa, of a very large multitude of people, as we're going to right now see what that means. And he also darash b'uchlusa, and he gave a shiur. He had an audience of uchlusa. He was a tremendous person. We know the Gemara says elsewhere that Yishai was one of the 4 individuals in the history of the world that never sinned. Arba'a metu be'etio shel lachash. 4 people died just because there is a gezerah on humankind to die after the sin of Adam Arishon attributed to Nachash. Who are those 4 people? Who are those 4 people? So one of them is, let's go in order, Binyamin, son of Yaakov Avinu. Then you have, right? Then you have Amram, right, the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. Then you have Yishai, the father of David HaMelech. And then you have, not bad, Kilav, which is, this is one of the sons of David HaMelech, right? So those are the 4 people who never sinned in their life. They died because of the gezerah on humankind to die. So this is a tremendous person, but you think sometimes people like that are quietly sitting in a corner, like the Vilna Gaon, learning with no entourage. Yishai had a tremendous entourage. He was a tremendous person. And says, Ula, you want to know what Uchlusa is? Naktinan en Uchlusa beBavel. We hold that there's no such a thing as Uchlusa beBavel. You don't make the bracha, says Rambam understands this Gemara to mean that you do not make the bracha of Chacham Harazim in Bavel. Because remember, this Gemara started with saying, part of the Mishnah, that you see Uchlusei Yisrael, if you see a Uchlusa from the Jews, you make a bracha of Baruch Chacham Harazim. That Hashem knows everything that goes, every raz, every secret that goes in every one of these people's hearts. That's the bracha of Baruch Chacham Harazim. So says Gemara, Naktinan en Uchlusa beBavel. There's no such a thing as Uchlusa beBavel. You don't, Rambam says you don't make that bracha in Bavel. Tana, and we learned, en Uchlusa pechuta mishishim ribo. The minimum amount of Uchlusa is 600,000, right? So it gives you an understanding of the greatness of Yishai. Rabbanan, we learn, Haroeh Chachmei Yisrael, if you see Chachmei Yisrael, Omer Baruch Shchalak Michochmato Lireav. You say a bracha when you see a Chachmei Yisrael of Baruch Shechalak Michochmato Lireav. Hashem has divided from his own honor, kavod, and given to his people who are Yiras Shamayim. Why do you attribute Chokhmah to Yiras Shamayim? Because the Mishnah says, Kol shechokhmato kodemet leirato, if you have chokhmah without yirah, the chokhmah is not, it's not going to stand. But kol she'yirato kodemet lechokhmato. But if your yirat shamayim comes first, then the chokhmah means something. So therefore we say, Baruch shechalak michokhmato lire'av. Hashem gives the chokhmah to people who have yirat shamayim. The real longevity of chokhmah stays with people who have yirat shamayim, right? So that's Chachmei Yisrael. Now, well, who is considered Chachmei Yisrael is not so pashut, right? Someone that knows everything, you ask him any question anywhere and he knows it, instantly and so on. It's not so pashut. Chachmei Ovdei Kochavim, if you see a Chacham, Michachmei Ovdei Kochavim, from the nations. Doesn't mean religious Chacham, doesn't mean someone that's in religious realm, but Chochmot Umot HaOlam means the Chochmot HaOlam. There are 7 Chochmot of the world. Someone that attains a high level of understanding and Chochmah in the science of the world, that is something to give a bracha, to praise as well. When you have someone of the highest caliber of Chochmah in Chachmei Ovdei Kochavim, you also make a bracha, but the bracha is slightly different. You say, Baruch shenatan mechokhmato leberiotav. That he, not chalak, but natan. He gave from his chokhmah to his creatures, not lireav. So 2 differences, 2 slight differences. Haroeh Malchei Yisrael, when you see kings, Jewish kings, you say bracha, Baruch shechalak michavodo lireav. Hashem divided from his own kavod lireav to his the ones who fear him. Right now, I ask you a question: if you see Menashe Melech Yisrael, Menashe was a Rasha Merusha. You see Yarovam, would you make this bracha? Yes, you would. So now you ask, wait a second. Lireav, they are poshim. What do we mean lireav? So Marsha says others as well that this is because their fathers, they got to be the king in the zchut of their fathers who were Yirei Shamayim. Everyone that got to be something, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sets that up, as we're going to see in the Gemara momentarily, and therefore this is also in the zchut of people who had Yirei Shamayim. Malchei Ovdei Kochavim, if you see Goyish kings, you also say bracha. You say the bracha of. I have to ask if by the coronation of the King of England, you would make a bracha like this. Is that considered a king? Is that considered a king? What is the definition of a king? If it's a decorated king, but that doesn't really make any decisions and doesn't have any power in that sense, whether or not you make a bracha, that's questionable. But nevertheless, if you see someone that passes for being a king, over the Kochavim, Omer Baruch Shonatan Michvodo Libriotav, that Hashem gave from his kavod, Natan, not Chalak, Libriotav. Now, why the difference of Chalak versus Natan? Many answers given to this. But Yosef actually brings this in Simar Shchaf Dalet, and he says that Klal Yisrael, because the neshama is Chatzuva mitachat kisa kavod, the neshama of Am Yisrael is a very holy creature. Now, I want to take the opportunity to open a parenthesis, which is very important. Some people, by mistake, they say the neshama is chelek elokam mimal, which means is part of Hashem. It's a piece of Hashem, piece of God. Is wrong. That's not just wrong; it's heresy to say such a thing, because Hashem has no parts. And neshama is a creature, as the pasuk says in Yeshaya, "Kiruach milefanai ya'atof u'neshamot ani asiti." Neshama is a creature just like any other creature, just the holiest creature that there is. It's the closest to the holiness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's a creature, nevertheless. To say that neshama is a piece of Hashem, Chalila v'chas, that is borders on not good things. So therefore, something to be careful with. But nevertheless, the Beit Yosef says chalak. It's almost also saying chelek. It says Hashem almost has given from the holiness of Himself, divided that thing. It's not just Natan, which is a more far-fetched, but it's almost like Chelek Elokam Imal. The neshama of Klal Yisrael is Chatzuva mitachat kisa kavod, is the closest thing to Hashem. So therefore, the difference of Chalak versus Natan. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Le'olam mishtadel adam larutz likrat malchei Yisrael. A person should always try to go and see Malchei Yisrael. We had this Gemara, if you remember, in the first break, in Daf Tet Amud Bet, we had this Gemara. It's the second time in the Masechet that we have this. Should go to see Likrat Malchei Yisrael, to go see the Jewish kings, but not only Likrat Malchei Yisrael, V'lo Likrat Malchei Yisrael bilvad, ela afilu Likrat Malchei of the Kochavim. You should even see the coronation of the Malchei Umot HaOlam. Why? She'mizkei yavchin ben Malchei Yisrael and Malchei of the Kochavim. That if you have schud in Latit Lavo, you'll see the difference. When Melech Mashiach comes, you'll see the difference between Malchei Yisrael and Malchei of the Kochavim. Now, a fantastic story in the Gemara. Rav Sheshet Sagi Nahor Haba. We mentioned before that Rav Sheshet was a Sagi Nahor, he was blind. No, he was not born blind, but he was a Talmid of Rabbi. He said the whole story how he accepted him and Rabbi Yosef, accepted a certain level of Shmirat Einayim upon themselves to emulate the Rabbi, the revered and tremendous Rabbi Rav, and they couldn't hold with it, and therefore they davened that they should become blind, whatever, however that happened exactly. So says the Gemara, the king was coming to the town, and the whole town went out to greet the king, to see the king. Now you would say there's no point for Rav Sheshet to go because what are you going to see, right? But he went. We got up and he went with them.
Was he born blind? Or he
No. Ashkeche Ahu Seduki. This Seduki found Rav Sheshet. Sedukim did not believe in Trash Baal Peh. They had their own, it was the closest religion to Judaism, basically, right? They had their own way of interpreting Pesukim and so on. So Amaleh. So he taunted Rav Sheshet, and he was rude. He said like this, so I understand why somebody would go to the river with a pitcher of water, with a barrel to fill water and bring back, right? When somebody has a bottle, you go to the water. I understand that. But kakni laya, a broken piece of vessel that doesn't hold anything, where is that going? In other words, it said, we have eyes, we could see the king, hence we're coming here. What are you doing here? Right? You don't have eyes. Amaleh, he told him, Tachazi, come and see the Yadana Tefeminach, that I actually understand what goes on over here more than you do. And you'll see that. Chalaf Gunda Kamaita, the first group of entourage of the king passed by with loud, music and a lot of tararam. Kika Avsham, it was very loud and a lot of noise. And Amar Le'ahut Stuki, and this Stuki tells Rav Sheshet, here it is, must be the king is coming here now. Ata Malka, king is coming. Amar Le Rav Sheshet told him, no. Lokati. Now, it's not now. This is not the king. This is just entourage. It's not the king. King is not here. So says the Gemara, Chalaf Kunda Tinyana, the second group of people came, Kika Avsha, and also it was a lot of music, loud, a lot of noise. Amaleh Ha'ut Stuki. Stuki said, okay, must be now it's coming. Hashtakati, Malka. Amaleh Rav Sheshet said, no. Lokati, it's not this one either. Khalif Telitai, the third group came, Kika Shatka, and there was quiet. No, fanfare, no loud noise. Amaleh Rav Sheshet said, Vadai Hashta Ati Malka. This is it. He's going to be with this group. Now, he doesn't see anything. Well, I said, here it is. King came. Amaleh Hahut Stuki. The Stuki says, Menalach. How do you know? Amaleh, he said, I know because of the following. Because the Malchuta de Ara came Malchuta de Rekia. Remember this because we're going to be discussing this going further in the Amud as well. This is because Malchuta de Ara, the kingdom of down here on earth, the kingdom of earth is formatted after the kingdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu up in Shemayim.
Is this going to be in
Kein Malchuta de Rekia. You're going to see how this is going to unfold now. Dichtiv, and I know how the Malchuta de Rekia works because we have it in Tanakh. We had an encounter of Eliyahu Hanavi with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'll tell you the short synopsis of the story. When we had the famous, all-time famous encounter of Eliyahu Hanavi with Achav and all of his 400 Nevi'ei Baal on top of Mount Carmel, Eliyahu B'Hara Carmel, Hashem Hu Elokim fame, right? So then the Jews captured all of these 400 Nevi'im after they realized that the whole thing is bogus and worthless and empty and sheker, and they shechted them, right? And everyone was inspired. It was amazing. What did Izebel do, the wife of Achav? Unimpressed. She sends a message to Eliyahu Hanavi. It says, Machar asim nafshecha tachat nefesh achad mehem. Tomorrow I will kill you and no one would say boo. You killed my Nevi'im, I'll kill you tomorrow. Parenthetically, Shlomo says, why tomorrow or night today? It says, today everyone is excited. They're not going to let me. Well, you know how excitement works, said Izebel said the excitement fizzles out. If you don't do anything about it, if you get excited to come to Amud Yomi and then you just don't do anything, it just fizzles out. You're not going to do it. So tomorrow I'll kill you, no one's going to save you. So he was very hurt by this. And then he wanted to resign basically as a Navi. There's a whole story of him walking 40 nights, 40 days, like Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a lot of depth there. And he goes to this Ma'ara, to this cave, and then the pasuk says that he encountered HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which, subsequently Hashem told him who to appoint instead of himself, and the king, and so on. And then we never hear from Eliyahu Hanavi afterwards. He goes B'Sa'ara Shamayma. He goes in front of the eyes of his disciple Elisha Hanavi. He was taken with the fiery chariot to heaven, and that's the end of what you hear in Tanakh about Eliyahu Hanavi. But in that encounter, it says, "Seva amata behar lifnei Hashem." Go and stand on the mountain in this cave, in front of Hashem. And then he says, "Vehine Hashem over." When Hashem came, Hashem also had an entourage, right? The ruach gedola vechazaka mefarek harim shaper selaim lifnei Hashem. There was a tremendous wind, strong wind, that is, mefarek harim, would divide the mountains and break the rocks in front of Hashem. That came first. Lo beruach Hashem. Hashem was not in ruach. Then, ve'achar haruach, and after that, rash, there was a tremendous thunder and loud noise, and so lo berash Hashem. Hashem was not in Hashem. Again, another important parenthesis, the Malbim writes there, says Hashem was giving him musar. He said, because what did he say? Hashem tells him, he says, Eliyahu, what are you doing? He said, Malach bo Eliyahu, what are you doing here? And he says, I am zealous for Hashem. They left your brit, they left your covenant, and they left your Torah. He was zealous. Eliyahu was a zealous, right? Eliyahu, like the Tosafot say, Baba Metzia, Daf Kuf Yudalet, right? He was a zealous person. I can't take this anymore. And Hashem was giving him musar, says the Malbim. He said, look, sometimes you have ruach, you have passion, you have a wind that breaks the mountains, divides things, and destroys it. Lo beruach Hashem. That's not the way of Hashem. And then it's a rash, the trembling and the loud noise of thunder. Lo berash Hashem. Well, you know where Hashem is? The third one is va'achar harash esh lo ba'esh Hashem. Hashem is in none of those. Va'achar ha'esh, after esh, is called the mamadaka, a very soft and calm voice called the mamadaka. And that's where Hashem was. So it says Rav Sheshat to this Stuki, he says, I learned from this pasuk because the way the Malchut works here is a reflection of the Malchut of Shamayim. And I knew, Lo ba'esh Hashem, Lo bera'ash Hashem, Lo beruach Hashem. Kol demamad akav. When it was quiet, I knew king is coming. Okay, great. So actually it happened, that's exactly what happened. The king came in that moment. Rav Sheshat stood in front of the king and started saying the bracha. Now there are those who say Mevarach, he was giving him a bracha, not the bracha of Riyah of king, but that's hard to fathom. The simple understanding of Gemara is he stood there and he was saying the bracha of a king, right? Shenatan mechokhmato libriotav, shenatan michvodo libriotav, right? Hashem gave his kavod to the king. Amaleh. Now this Suki was really mechutzaf. He didn't stop. He says, "Leman de lo chazid le kam mevarchat." You say bracha for someone you don't see. This is a brikat hariyah. You have when you see the king, you say the bracha. For someone that you don't see, you make a bracha. And says the Gemara, this is for sure something happened to this Suki. This is such a chutzpah. You speak like that to Rav Sheshat, you know, you're not gonna make it in one piece. Says the Gemara, what happened with this Suki? Kadamri, that those who say, Chavroi kachlinu le'ene, that he got into an argument with his own friends, and his friends gouged out his eyes, and he became a Sakin Ahor himself. And there are those who say this is again a phraseology, the term that's mentioned many times in Shas, that one of the Amoraim would be Natan enav bo, gave his eyes to him, and he died. But Marsha says, yeah, momentarily Hashem gave him sight to look at him and he destroyed him. But the simple understanding of Gemara is Natan enav bo doesn't mean he gazed at him, looked at him. It means he put his attention on him for the wrongdoing that he did, and that is what destroyed him. Says the Gemara. Another all-time famous story. Rav Shila, Nakdeh Lahu Gavra, Rav Shila gave lashes, malkut, to this person, to this Yid, the Baal Mitzvit, that he slept with the Goyeta, right? So Azal, this guy said, I'll show you. He went to the king. He said, oh, you have no idea. There's this Jew that is doing his own, he thinks he's a king. He does his own judgment and punishment. He's like the judge and he's the police without your permission. Amar ikachad gavra biyudai, there's this fellow Jew, they called dayin dina belaumana de malka, that he is judging and executing judgment without the permission of the king. So the king, of course, was not happy. Shadar aleh pristikam, he sent to Azmana to Rav Shila. He said, come on here. Rav Shila went to the king. Kiata, when he came to the court of the king, Amri leh matama nagat lehai. So why did you beat up this guy? Why did you lash this person? Amar lehu, he told him, you know why? You have no idea what he did. Amar lehu de ba'al hamarta. So he was cohabiting with a donkey. Now, even though that they wouldn't care about mitzvit, but the donkey, you got the death penalty by them, right? So Amri led, they said, what? Itlachzadi, you have witnesses? One witness for the goy would be enough. It's just like how it is right now, right? So yes, you have it. Amar lehu in. He said, yes, I do have. And you know what happened? And this happened. Ata Eliyahu. Eliyahu Navi came, looked like a person, the ashid. And he said, yes, I was there. I saw the whole thing. Abshila is correct. This guy did it. Amri leh, they told him, wow, Behachi, if that's correct, Bar Ketalahu, he has to be put to death. So he said, no, wait a second. Amar lehu, Anan miyom adikayin ma'arain. Abshila answered, basically, they said, why didn't you kill him? He gets the death penalty. And Rav Sheshet said, well, you could do that if you want. We can't do it. From the day that we went out of Eretz Yisrael, the Beit HaMikdash got destroyed. Well, Sanhedrin really went to Galut. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, it says, let lan reshuta lemiktal. We don't have permission to kill. Atun ma'itun avidut. You could do whatever you want. As they started opening his files and his case to look into his case and see if he should be put to death, Patach Rav Shila v'Amar, Rav Shila started saying praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu because the nest happened to him. Rabbi came and this whole thing played out just right. So he said, Lecha Hashem ha'gedula v'ha'gevura v'ha'tiferet v'ha'nesach v'ha'hod. The beautiful pasuk, a long pasuk that the Gemara is going to darshan actually now, that says in Divrei Hayamim, Aleph, Lecha Hashem ha'gedula v'ha'gevura v'ha'tiferet v'ha'nesach v'ha'hod, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, Lecha Hashem ha'mamlacha v'vinaseh lekol dorosh. Now, interestingly enough, if you take a look at Perek Shira, the Yabet says, what's the pasuk that the donkey says? This is the pasuk that the donkey says. So because through saying a donkey from mitzvit, right, it actually, and he saved his case. He said this pasuk as a shevach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lecha Hashem ha'gedula v'ha'gevura v'ha'tiferet. You have control over everything, Hashem. We're going to see some more about this pasuk. So says the Gemara, they saw he's saying something. The court people, they said, "What are you saying?" Amri le, Micah Amrad, what are you saying, mumbling there to yourself? Amar lehu said, "You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. Hachika amina. Very rachmana, I'm making a bracha to Hashem for having you guys in charge of this country, because the ya'iv malchuta be'ara ken malchuta derikev, because Hashem has made it that the kingdom down here on earth mirrors the kingdom of Hashem himself up there. You are ambassadors of God on earth. Thank God for you guys that you're there. Your thing is so amazing, so fantastic, so fabulous. And really in the pasuk, he was saying it because the end of the pasuk reads, Kichol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Anything that's in shamayim is also on earth. So he was thinking, and he has given you control and power, the racha medina, and love of judgment and love of justice. He said, wow, Amru chaviva alach kikarat malchut hakol. You love the kingdom and the king and the emperor so much. Amazing. You know what? From now on, we give you the permission. Now, Ben Shai says only for that day, maybe, or for that person, that we give you are going to be a walking judge. You could judge people, you could punish people, you could kill people. You love the government so much, you'll be our ambassador within the Jewish community, right? They gave him this kulfa, the rod of a police to be able to punish and judge and so on. You could judge judgments. You're a dayan. You have a nafik, so he was now going out of the courthouse. Amaleh, this guy encounters him, and he said, "Wow, I'm so impressed. Avid Rahman Nisan Shakari, Hashem does miracles for liars. You know, and I know that you just lie. I didn't cohabit with a donkey. I went with a mitzri, and now you said it, and next happened. Some Ed came, you got a testimony from Eliyahu. Hashem doesn't nisim for shakarim, for liars like you." So says the Gemara, Amalei said, Rasha, you Rasha. Lav chamari ikru. Doesn't the pasuk in Yecheskel call them chamorim? And the pasuk says, Asher besar chamorim besaram v'zirmat susim zirmatam. Right? And then Rav Shila sees that this guy is now inching close to the judge to go tell him what Rav Shila said. He said, He wanted to go and say, the little you gave him the right to be a police and a judge, and he just called the mitzvim, he called them equivalent to donkeys. So he says, okay, that's bad. the Karinu Chamri, Amar Hai Rodefu. Now this enters a whole new realm, what we call a Rodef, a pursuer. And by a pursuer, the halakha is, V'atorah Amra, Im Bala Orgecha Ashkem Lorgo. Bala Orgecha Ashkem Lorgo. You, if someone is pursuing you to kill you, you kill him first. Machye bekulpa v'kaseh. He hit him with the kulpa, he killed. Amar, now he said, Hoil veit abed nisab behaikra. Once a nest happened to me with this pasuk that I said, the pasuk in the Rabbi, the Hashem Agdula, said, I'm going to darshan this pasuk as a means of thanking HaKadosh Baruch. Darshin aleh, I'm going to darshan. The Hashem Agdula, the first part of the pasuk goes part by part, word for word. The Hashem Agdula zu maaseh bereshit. This pasuk recounts all the greatnesses that HaKadosh Baruch has done in the timeline in history. So it starts with, of course, the creation of the world. The Hashem Agdula zu maaseh bereshit. How do I know Gedula is a reference to maaseh bereshit? Because the pasuk says, "Oseh gedolot at en hesed." Hashem does greatness without any boundaries. That's maaseh bereshit. It's a reference this pasuk to maaseh bereshit. So that's Hagedula. Gevura zu yitziat Mitzrayim. Gevura is Yitziat Mitzrayim. Shenemar, the pasuk says, "V'yisrael hayat hagedola," the outstretched, the strong hand. That's Gevura. That's strength of Hashem. Tiferet zu Chama v'Levana is the creation of Chama v'Levana in a way that Nisim happened with them. For Am Yisrael, Hamas, still for Yeshua, when he needed to finish a battle, right? Vayidom HaShemesh, the pasuk says, V'yareach Amat, the Shemesh, the Yareach, they froze basically, stood still until he needed the passage of time to finish his thing. V'hanetzach zo mapalata shel Romi. Netzach is the downfall of the Roman Empire. V'chen hu omer v'yez nitzcham netzach. The pasuk that speaks about the final downfall of Roman Empire is v'yez nitzcham al bigadai, says Hashem, and hod v'hahod ze milchemet nachale Arnon. We learned earlier on about this, but et v'hav v'sufa, right? That the Jews were going in the valley in between the two mountains in Nachale Arnon, and the Goyim, they were hiding in the indentations of the mountains up above, wanting to kill the nation when passing by. And when the Anan went in front of them, the Aron went in front of them, he flattened the thing, and they all died. So that is Hod. That's the glory of Hashem. Al ken yomar b'sefer milchamot Hashem. The pasuk says, "Et v'hav b'sufa." The end of the pasuk, that is what the pasuk says in Shoftim, in Perek Dalet and Perek Hey, the story of Devorah, who was the Nevi'ah, who was the Shofetet at the time, and Barak and Yael, right? The whole story that Sisra was killed by Yael, and in the Shirah that they have in Perek Hey, there says, Min hashamayim nilchamu ha-kochavim, that from heaven, from Shamayim, the Kochavim were fighting against Sisra min mesilotam, and that's why it says Bashamayim ubares. It was, well, the Milchama really was Bares, but it was really Bashamayim as well. So that's the nest that happened to the destruction of Sisra. Lecha Hashem ha-mamlachat Hashem, you have the kingdom. Zu milchemet Amalek, that's the final milchemet Amalek that's going to happen. It's going to be Lecha Hashem ha-melucha. Hashem is going to be recognized as king, the end of days. V'chen hu omer yad al kesiyah milchama la Hashem ba'Amalek midor. V'hamitnaseh, that Hashem is raised above every being in the world. Zu milchemet Gog u'Magog, that is the final milchama of Gog u'Magog, the time of Mashiach. V'chen hu omer hineni elecha Gog nesi rosh Meshech v'Tuval. You see, the Gog is called nesi rosh, and when the downfall of Gog happens, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be mitnaseh. So it says the Gemara, lechol lerosh. What's the last piece of the pasuk? Lechol lerosh Amar Rav Hanan bar Rava, Amar Rav Yochanan. That means afilu resh gargita min shmaya manule. That you think is only Hashem that created the world, Maaseh Berachot, the fantastic nisim of Yetziat Mitzrayim, the marvelous things that happened in the time of Yeshua, and all this massiveness. No, it says this happens every single day, and that's the greatest. It goes up, and the greatest thing, the last punchline of the pasuk is lechol lerosh. That any person that has any authority in the world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has decided it. The world is not a hefker belt. Everyone, even a Rosh Gargita, which is the most insignificant leadership, someone that's in charge of people who dig wells to water the plants in the fields, that's like nothing. It's like the head of garbage collecting department in town, like, that's dealing with the garbage, right? But he is a head of something. And that position has been decided for HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. Lechol lerosh. Any person that's considered rosh of anything, that is decided, means Shemaya Manula. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has appointed him. B'matnita Tanam, we learned in Matnita, Mishemet Rabbi Akiva, a little bit slightly different. L'chashem Gdula zu Kriyat Damsuf. Gdula is Kriyat Damsuf, splitting of the sea. V'Gvura zu Makat Bechorot. Gvura is Makat Bechorot. Tiferet zu Matan Torah. Tiferet is the giving of the Torah. This is, the milestones in Klal Yisrael becoming a nation. V'Hanetzach zu Yerushalayim. Hod zu Bet HaMikdash. Okay, great, wonderful. Tarabana. Haroe Batei Yisrael v'Yishuban. Omer Baruch Matziv Gevul Almana. If you see the settlement of Yerushalayim, the building of Yerushalayim after the initial destruction, for instance, in the time of the Bayit Sheni, that Yerushalayim was rebuilt to a great degree, you make a bracha of Baruch Matziv Gevul Almana. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu is protecting the Almana. At the beginning of Echa, it says, Echa etaka Almana, right? The Yerushalayim, who was like the glory of the world, became like an Almana, like a widow that her husband left basically as if Almana, as if he died. He really just left. And therefore, when he's rebuilt, you make the bracha Baruch Matziv Gevul Almanam. Bezat Hashem will continue this in the days to come.
Rabbi, savings miracle.